Hello, this is Professor Ellen Genovese from Mercer County Community College. I'm the course coordinator in Bio 113. Just a few things before we get started. Make sure that you download your free OpenStax College textbook, Concepts of Biology. You will find reading assignments that go along with these PowerPoints in Blackboard under the assignment checklist. The first unit that we're going to cover will go over characteristics of life, the scientific method, and evolution. Let's begin. This video will demonstrate that for something to be alive, it must possess a variety of characteristics. There are 8 properties of life. Living things may vary significantly. So a bacteria, which is single-celled, is a living thing. And then you have more complex organisms such as plants and animals. But all of these entities have these same properties of life. Living things have an order or level of organization. The smallest level of organization or order is the cell, and that's the smallest unit of life. If you look at more complex organisms, they have tissues. Tissues are where you have cells that work together in order to achieve a specific function. 2 or more tissues form organs. And then organs can be grouped together into organ systems. These are where you have a variety of organs that are all working together to perform one common function. Let's look at an example. If you look at the zebra, and specifically the zebra's heart, it consists of individual cardiac muscle cells, or muscle fibers. These individual cardiac muscle cells form the bulk of the heart, or the myocardium, the part of the heart that contracts to pump blood. But the heart consists of more than just the cardiac muscle cells. Cardiac muscle tissue. There is connective tissue that lines the inside of the chambers and forms and valves, connective tissue on the outside, as well as adipose tissue or fat. The heart is part of the cardiovascular system. The cardiovascular system consists of the heart and all the associated great vessels. The cardiovascular system is just one of 11 organ systems found in the zebra. All living things respond to stimuli. This is the way living things can find energy and interact with their environment. And sometimes the response to stimuli results in movements. So you can see plants or leaves on a tree will grow toward a source of sunlight. If a rabbit hears a sound that indicates danger, it will dart to safety. All living things must be able to reproduce. And this can be very simple in the case of a bacteria, where it just grows larger and then splits into 2. For humans and other more complex organisms, this is more involved. In sexual reproduction, a sperm fertilizes an egg and that produces an embryo. The embryo develops into a fetus and then into an infant. All living things have adaptations, and this makes them more suitable for their way of life. Penguins look very different from hawks, even though they're both birds. Hawks have very keen vision and hollow bones that reduce their body weight. Their forelimbs are proportional for flying. Penguins, on the other hand, penguins, my favorite animal, have stubby, flat wings that are suitable for swimming. Their feet and tail serve as rudders, but they're also able to walk on land. Penguins have layers of blubber that keep them warm, and their short, thick feathers form a waterproof coat. Living things are all capable of growth and development. In the case of an embryo that's formed by a fertilized egg, growth is steered due to information that's found in our genes. Our genes are inherited from each of our parents. DNA is a chemical molecule which is often called the blueprint of life. It contains all the genes that allow for the growth and development of that organism. All living things must have some way to coordinate their internal functions. If you think of our lymphatic or cardiovascular system, that allows the transport of molecules from one part of the body to another. Living things are also able to respond to stimuli, and this may not be stimuli that's external, it also includes stimuli that occurs inside the body, such as the regulation of blood pressure, or heart rate. Under the category of regulation, a very important concept is homeostasis. And homeostasis is the process that enables the maintenance of a constant internal environment condition, even though the outside environment may be changing. This often requires the use of negative feedback. Let me give you an example. In the summertime, you have your thermostat set at a certain temperature. When your house becomes warmer than this set point, your air conditioning system turns on. This cools down your house, and when it reaches below the set point, your air conditioning system shuts off. So it turns on and off during the summer in order to maintain a constant internal temperature. This is very similar to what occurs in humans. If we go outside on a very warm day, we'll start to sweat. The capillaries and smaller blood vessels in our skin dilate, and we may look flushed. In the wintertime, if it's very cold out, we'll start to shiver as a way to increase metabolic activity and warm our bodies up. Your skin may also look pale as your blood vectors start to constrict to keep the warm blood in the core of your body. If you think of this sweating as a method of cooling us down and shivering as a method of warming us up, this is a behavior that does not require any conscious activity. All living things need to have energy processes, and this is going to vary significantly depending on the type of organism we're discussing. Bacteria, they secrete enzymes in their environment, which helps to break down larger food molecules so that they can pass through the cell wall and cell membrane of the bacteria. Or think of the food which we consume. So food, these are organic materials that provide building blocks and energy source. If you think of our metabolism, and normally when we hear the word metabolism, you think of somebody that has a fast metabolism that is able to lose weight very quickly or maintain their body weight, or versus someone that has a slow metabolism. But in a chemical sense, metabolism is a sum of all the biochemical reactions that occur inside your body. And these are reactions that may be building up in making molecules, such as enzymes or hormones, or it could be breaking down molecules, such as the digestion of proteins or carbohydrates. The ultimate source of energy for planet Earth is the sun. The sun enables the process of photosynthesis to occur in plants and some photosynthetic protists. Photosynthesis is the process where two inorganic molecules, carbon dioxide and water, and the presence of light energy can form starch. Now, this may be a starch, it may be a sugar or carbohydrate, such as fructose found in fruits. It may actually be a fatty substance, such as oil, which can be extracted from olives. But the plants are making their own type of stored energy, which we can eat, and also give off oxygen as a byproduct. Just think of what would happen if the sun all of a sudden, went black. Eventually, all of the plants on the planet would die, and then all of the animals, including ourselves, that depend on these plants, or animals that eat these plants, at that point, they would all perish as well. Living things are all classified. Humans are classified as Homo sapiens. It's almost like a first name and a last name, where every living organism has two names, and this represents the genus, so in the case of humans is Homo, and the species, which is sapiens. Notice that the H in Homo is capitalized, and the S in sapiens is a lowercase letter. These two terms are also represented using italics. Here we have some examples of common pets and other animals that we come in contact with, where it might be a cat, a dog, a mouse, or a rat. You can see that they all have a specific genus and species name. Taxonomy is the science that is used to classify living organisms according to certain rules. And these rules don't necessarily mean how similar the animals look, but it's genetically how related they are. And these similarities or differences are based on evolutionary relationships. You can see that these categories or classification start with domain, which has the most inclusive, most number of organisms in a specific domain, and we will cover domains and kingdoms very shortly. Next we have kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, and then the least inclusive is genus and species. This classification system was developed by Carl Linnaeus, and prior to then, organisms such as a dandelion were given a common name. And this common name varied even from one region within a country, and it varied between one country and another. And sometimes these names were not, easily to translate from one language to another. So the Linnaean classification system uses Latin terms, which are universally accepted. Binomial just refers to the fact that there is a genus and species given to all organisms. Again, here are the naming rules. Genus is capitalized. The terms are written in italics. Often the genus is abbreviated. Example of this would be the bacteria E. coli, which sometimes you hear about high E. coli levels found in water supplies or contaminated foods. But the E in E. coli stands for Escherichia, so that's kind of a real mouthful. So normally we just say E. coli. Okay, we just saw on the previous slide that the higher the category, the more inclusive or the more organisms that are found in that group. And this is universally accepted, and this then prevents any of this confusion that may be used with common names. Again, we usually will call something a dog or a cat or a dandelion, but if we need to be more specific, there is a genus and species name for all these organisms. Here's an acronym to kind of help you to remember the order. Okay, well, starting with domain, we then have kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. So a good way to remember this order is using the acronym King Philip came over for great spaghetti. So there will be a question on the unit exam in which you need to know the order of these hierarchy of classification system. This is a diagram that kind of gives you an idea of this inclusiveness and how that as you go down this scale, there are less organisms that are found within a specific order or a family. So for a dog, you can see that they're in the domain Eukarya with many, many other organisms. And then animal kingdom still contains huge number of organisms. Phylum a little bit smaller, Mammalia or mammal. So you'll also notice that a lot of the terms are Latinized. They may have an IA or an EA at the end. Okay. Order, Carnivoria or carnivores, Canidia for family, and then genus and species. Okay, so dog families are fine, but let's look at the classification of humans. So we are in the domain Eukarya. Again, we'll get to the specificity of the domains in a few minutes. The kingdom Animalia, or animal kingdom. Okay, the phylum Chordata. So organisms that are found in the phylum Chordata have vertebrae or backbones. The class is Mammalia, so that stands for mammals. The distinguishing characteristic of mammals is that all mammals have hair or fur, as well as mammary glands or nipples in which to nurse their young. The order is primates. Primates are organisms that have opposable thumbs that allows them to grip or grab objects, and also have large cerebral hemispheres. The family Hominidae, this includes humans, chimpanzees, gorillas, as well as orangutans. The genus Homo, which includes humans and our human ancestors. And the species Sapiens. Okay, so I'm just going to mention something important now that we'll probably discuss it again when we reach the section on evolution. Humans do not evolve from apes. Apes are our ancestral cousins, if you want to look at it, in that type of relationship or aspect. A phylogenetic tree is a diagram that shows lines of evolution. This is useful for organizing biological diversity. These trees show descent from a common ancestor and provide evidence that supports the theory of evolution. Here's a phylogenetic tree that was constructed by microbiologist Carl Woese, and this shows specific genetic relationships between organisms. Organisms that are found on the same branch are more closely related to each other.